the Wii U versus the Xbox One. Hello there, this is another episode of the Review Space, and today in this video I'm going to compare the Xbox One against the Wii U. And I noticed that a lot of people, I don't see a lot of videos on YouTube that actually compare these two. People don't really talk about it. I mean, they generally compare all three systems, but it's never the two systems individually, specifically the Wii U and the Xbox One. And in this video, I want to compare both systems, and just the Xbox One and the Nintendo Wii U. No mention of the PS4. We're not even going to talk about that, because I think in terms of sales, in terms of competition, and in terms of, well, it's obvious that the PS4 is ahead. You know, it's obvious that the PS4 is leading the 8th generation console wars. It's leading the competition. So let's focus more on the two systems that are second and third place. But which one is in second place and which one is in third place? Which between the Xbox One and the Wii U? Alright, so here we go. Let's talk about sales. Let's talk about the sales of the actual consoles. So hardware sales, the Wii U has 7.2 million and has 28.0% of the system's the demographic, the market share, I should say. And the Xbox One has a 6.2 million in sales with 24.1% of the market share. So when it comes to hardware sales overall, the Wii U is actually in the lead. It's got a solid million plus sales and console units sold over the Xbox One. Of course, we got to keep in mind that the Wii U has been out for just about 2 years, so it's a couple of years ahead of the Xbox One, and the Xbox One has only been out for about a year, since last year of 2013. So a solid 1 year head start for the Wii U, and it has 7.2 against the Xbox One 6.2. This is all according to VGCharts.com, by the way. Those are solid sales. I mean, it's quite impressive for the Xbox One's doing not too shabby. It's 6.2 million, so you got, you know, over 6 million Xbox One users. With the Wii U, it's around 7 million. And the fascinating thing is that next year, I wonder what's going to happen. You know, I wonder which system is going to overtake it. I mean, it seems like the Wii U it's in the safe lead for now. You know, it's doing okay. It has some exclusives that came out this year that made it even more, it increased the sales of it this year, particularly titles like Mario Kart 8. And so that basically received a lot of high scores and a lot of critical acclaim. As far as the Xbox One, obviously the main reason that people bought this was you got the Microsoft loyalists and the diehards that will always support Microsoft no matter what. They seem to be continuously buying it, despite the fact that, you know, there are competition out there. There's other systems available. There seems to be just nothing but, you know, Xbox One solid fan base. It's these people that always buy Microsoft, similar to the Wii U Nintendo fans, actually. And I mean, we can say that these people are new gamers, you know, younger gamers that maybe are experiencing these consoles for the first time. You know, these people that haven't experienced, like, basically kids that are maybe 12, 13 years old, even younger than that haven't had any experiences with consoles before, and so now for the first time in their lives, they're playing the Wii U or the Xbox One, and they only own one system. They only own a single console. 7.2 million against 6.2 million, though. Wii U is in fact in the lead over the Xbox One, so it seems like the Wii U is technically beating Microsoft. Time will definitely tell in terms of who's going to overtake, which system is going to eventually just zoom past the other one and either catch up with the PS4 or at least, you know, stay solidly behind it, and maybe even surpass it. You never know. You just never know 5-6 years from now exactly which system is going to ultimately sell the most units. But let's move on to the actual games, though. The actual titles from these systems, and we're going to look at the Metacritic scores for both systems. Let's begin with the Wii U. The Nintendo Wii U has a lot of 90s now. Well, several of them. I can't say there's too many, but there's a little bit more than I remember last year. You know what I mean? In 2013, looking at the lists, and there wasn't that many games in the 90s. Now there's a little bit more. Coming in at first place is Super Mario 3D World, has a 93 out of 100 and a user score of 9.0 out of 10. So this game is in the high 90s, high scores I should say. And it came out last year, November 2013. It's still in the lead. It's still a top game for the Wii U, so you can't really go wrong with Mario exclusives, especially that, you know, that single Mario title that makes the Nintendo console. It's been this way ever since I was a kid in the 90s. You know, in the Super Nintendo, it was Mario World, Super Mario World, and that was for me anyway, that was an amazing game. That was like my favorite game on the SNES for a long time. And then the N64 had Mario 64, you know, and that was again another game that set trends in the 3D platforming genre. It laid the foundation for a lot of the later games that would come out in other systems and on the N64. And then of course the GameCube has the Mario Sunshine, which wasn't as commercially successful just because the GameCube really wasn't that successful in the first place. But I look at Mario 3D World as kind of in the same boat when it comes to the Wii U system. It's a solid Nintendo Mario exclusive, and it's well received. And then you have other games. Rayman Legends has a 92, Bayonetta 2, one of the newer games, has a 91 out of 100 and a 9.2 user score. Came out in October 2014. Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker HD has a 90 out of 100. Guacamelee has a 90. Skylanders Swap Force even has an 89. An 89 Metascore. Granted, it does have a 5.8 user score. You know, so the user score there's a huge disparity. It's not as high. There's other games. Deus Ex, Mario Kart 8 has an 88 and even a 9.1 on the user score. Shovel Knight has an 88. Pikmin 3 has an 87. And then you got the rest of the other games. You know, Assassin's Creed 3 and NBA 2K13. And all of these other titles. Yeah, I mean, so there are a few games in the 90s now with the Wii U. Let's take a look at the Xbox One. The Xbox One. Well, first of all, they only have one game in the 90s. Rayman Legends. Rayman Legends. That's the only game they have in the 90s, and it came out earlier this year, February 2014. For the Xbox One. You know, that's kind of a shame, but at least it's something for the Xbox One. And then the rest is in the 80s, like high 80s. FIFA 14 has an 88. Halo, the Master Chief Collection has an 88. Guacamelee has an 88. Minecraft Xbox One Edition has an 88 out of 100. Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor has an 87. NBA 2K14 has an 86. Titanfall has an 86. And Diablo 3 has an 86. Tomb Raider, Forza, and everything else. I mean, even Advanced Warfare, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare has an 83 on the Xbox One, but it does have a 5.5 user score, so even the user scores are just... they're kind of unkind to the Xbox One. They have a significantly lower... a lot of these games have fucking low user scores. You know, the user scores are just not very high for the Xbox One. Like, a lot of them like 5.8, 6.8, 6.0, 5.6, 6.2. You know, Titanfall has a fucking 86 out of 100 Metascore, but then it's got a user score of 6.2. So there's an obvious disparity between the average gamers that, you know, rate these games. And you never know. I mean, it could be haters, it could be people that despise Xbox One games anyway, but you just never know with these people. You're not entirely 100% sure what kind of people, you know, it could be absolute spammers, you know what I mean, people making extra accounts, you never know. So you gotta take all of these scores with a grain of salt, but just looking at it from from face value, I mean, look, Killer Instinct. which was one of my favorite fighting game franchises from the 90s. It's got a 73 out of 100 on Xbox One. It's got a 6.2 on a fucking user score. Killer Instinct. Jesus. It's so unfortunate. You know what I mean? Like, they just... Xbox One, man, it's just an odd system. So overall, the Wii U is winning. There you go. So I think I pretty much summed it up. The Wii U is beating the Xbox One. It's got higher console sales. It's got higher reviewed games. And I talked about this, I spoke about this last year. I made a fucking video, top 10 reasons to buy a Wii U instead of the Xbox One and the PS4. And lo and behold, this is exactly what I predicted. You got more games, more exclusives that are worth checking out on the Wii U. The Wii U is getting basically better games overall than the Xbone. And you got the Xbox One, kind of a mixed bag. It's like a mixed crowd. Some of the fans hate some of the games, but at the same time, the meta user, not the meta user, but the Metacritic official scores, not too bad for a lot of these games are in the 80s, mid 80s, and they're not doing too bad. But it's bizarre to me. It's kind of odd. I wonder what the fucking future's gonna be like for the Xbox One, for Microsoft. I mean, are they gonna make a brand new system? The ninth generation, I am so curious about it. It's very rare for me to be like, holy shit, I can't wait until the next generation, the next console wars, the ninth generation to come by. I want to see it just to see what the fuck happens in that time. What happens at the end of the 8th generation wars, which one sells the most units. Probably think that the PS4 would maintain it. I just have that expectation because of the exclusives mixed with the multiplats and its reputation, the specs. I think that obviously Wii U versus Xbox One is a closer competition in my opinion. It's closer. And I think overall, I wouldn't be surprised if Xbox One overtakes the Wii U simply because of its, number one, its power, its specs. It's technically a stronger system than the Wii U, so it's capable of games. It has next-gen games, I should say, or current-gen games. And while the Wii U is kind of still stuck in that, that PS3 360 presentation, that engine, that power, it's not as powerful. So the Wii U is going to have to rely on its exclusives, on its first-party games and second-party titles, and I don't know how long that's going to last, to be honest. I mean, you can have a solid 7 million fan base compared to the Xbox One and everybody else, but Nintendo doesn't have a unlimited amount of fans. You know what I mean? They don't have like 20 million gajillion fans that keep buying everything that they put out. There's some people will jump the bandwagon. They will jump ship. They will move on to other consoles and I used to be a fucking Nintendo fan myself. I used to be heavy into Nintendo back in the 90s. I was a big Nintendo mark. You know what I mean? I prefer Nintendo. I always defended Nintendo because I was a kid in the 90s. I was a younger kid. I was 10, 11, 12 years old defending Nintendo all the time because that was my systems that I had. Those were my systems of choice at that time. But I think a lot of the younger gamers that used to be, they used to be into the Wii, they used to be into the GameCube, and then they moved on to other systems. They moved on to the PC, the Sonys, and the Microsoft systems when they got a little bit older. And then you're always going to have those diehards that are always going to be with the Wii and the Wii U, and they're always going to be into Nintendo no matter what. You know what I mean? They're always going to be into Nintendo consoles. But not everybody's like that, and it just seems like every generation Nintendo has a harder fucking job. They have a harder time maintaining hardcore fans. They have a harder time keeping fans and keeping a solid following. The Wii basically brought in the casual fans, all these casual people that weren't hardcore gamers, so you got millions that sold or that bought into the Wii, so the Wii sold 100 million plus. But a lot of them, that's the crazy thing. 100 million fucking Wii sold, and then you only have around 7 million Wii U owners, Wii U followers, 7.2 million. And it's been 2 years. It's been 2 fucking years. The Wii was far more successful financially and from a profit standpoint, from a fucking selling units, than the Wii U. So obviously there's something going on. There's something wrong with what Nintendo was doing. They're not doing it right to a certain degree. They're fucking up. And only their most hardcore, most loyal fan base that like the Nintendo stuff will buy into them now. They only have a a smaller fan base now. The fucking diehards and shit like that. Oh my god. So overall, yeah, Nintendo is, Wii U is beating the Xbox One, but how long can this maintain? And I think it just, it fucking depends. It depends on the quality of games that the Wii U can put out. If they can keep putting out games like Bayonetta 2, which wasn't originally a fucking Nintendo exclusive. It came out for the other systems, PS3 and 360. If they can manage to keep doing that, then sooner or later, people are probably going to turn around and at least give the Wii U a chance. Give it a fucking... If they were able to get COD Advanced Warfare, I think that would have been something. That would have brought some more eyeballs into the Wii U and gave that platform a chance. I think somebody mentioned in one of my other videos, bring some fucking Pokemon games into Wii U. Bring some Pokemon. Yeah, that's a great idea. Because having Pokemon on the fucking main console will make it even more viable. It makes it worth checking out. I don't understand this fucking mentality. Why Pokemon has to only stay on the handheld systems. Some people think it should stay there. It's pocket monsters, basically. It should be only on the fucking portable systems, and it should feel like a handheld game and not a console game. But I completely disagree. I feel like Pokemon should be on the fucking main console, because number one, it sells, and number two, Pokemon could use the fucking engine of the Wii U. That powerhouse of a system. Think about, the graphics. Basically, a large open world fucking game on the Wii U that is Pokemon. You can have... That would be like the GTA of Nintendo. Like, that's the Wii U GTA version. Is a fucking Pokemon open world game, large game, 3D, three-dimensional, huge world to explore and to catch all these different characters, and that would be amazing. It'd be like, in terms of presentation wise, it'd look like something like a Monster Hunter. Yeah, Monster Hunter, where you explore the large world and you're walking around like these caves and the forest and the fields, and then you're fighting the monsters in real time, and that would be something. That would make Pokemon even more amazing. It would make it even more fucking advanced, instead of just being confined to this goddamn handheld console, to the handheld portable platforms, and because it just feels so limiting sometimes. Just, think of how amazing Pokemon would be on the Wii U. That would make it so phenomenal. It would make it so must-have. Guaranteed it would fucking sell. It would sell so many fucking units, and I completely agree with it, I've heard that suggestion before in the past, and definitely could use, a Pokemon game on the Wii U. Thanks for watching The Review Space, the most underrated channel on YouTube. For more videos, check out youtube.com/TheReviewSpace.